Hey y'all, welcome to the party. It's our birthday. We are so glad we see folks still coming into the waiting room here. Hopefully you got to enjoy a little bit of that music. A little bit of a throwback. Nina's like, this is a very Gen X song, but fun. So thank you all for coming to the Spark birthday party. We are both going to party because and celebrate things that are Spark, and also we're going to share some new research and data because what's a party without data, guys? So welcome. Thank you for taking the time to be here with us today. Just to give you a quick overview of how this session will go. So the first half hour, pretty approximately, is stuff about Spark, what we've accomplished, what we offer, what you can do, how to get involved. There's gonna be a couple of activities. You can win some gift cards, some things. And then the second half, we'll be sharing new insights from our what we call our data to benefits project is shorthand, but new insights about connecting student parents to basic needs supports, and with strategies, research, and insights that'll help for and insights that'll help for being able to alleviate basic needs insecurity, which is really important for our student parent success. That'll be second half hour, and then if you want to stay on, we have a unscripted third half hour for folks to be able to connect and have conversation in smaller groups and just be able to spend some time together in partnership and community. So with that, moving into it. So Spark is not just a name, student parent action through research knowledge. It's a concept. It's a concept that when we each bring our own light into this work, that shines brightly. But when we bring our lights together, and sometimes people come in and have the stick but don't have it lit yet, we can light each other's spark and we can bring it all together into something bigger and something meaningful. And that's what we're trying to do with the Spark Collaborative here. So the vision of this work is that we endeavor for pregnancy and parenting not to determine a person's ability to meet their goals. We also envision a future where all organizations and decision makers are coordinated and are working towards supporting parents in pursuing and achieving those goals. Our mission is to collaboratively build evidence and make the case for policy change to support pregnant and parenting students so they can meet their education and life goals. As Kimberly, our colleague here, says, at the heart of it, the mission is about making sure pregnant and parenting students have the support they need, not just to survive college, but to both meet their education and their life goals together. So we're moving beyond survival to thriving. So with that, something that defines Spark is that we are a values-driven collaborative. It's free to join. We'll show you how to get involved. But it's all oriented around a set of 8 core values. And that's all you have to do to be part of Spark is just agree that you want to abide by these values as best you can. So the first is that it's collaborative. So that means promoting meaningful communication and collaboration among organizations and individuals. It's driven by lived expertise, which means involving currently or recently parenting students as leaders and collaborators in projects and initiatives. And that should be fairly compensated. Expectations should be realistic, and those roles should be supported. It's cumulative. So we build policy and practice work upon insights and lessons from data, research, and lived expertise and past efforts so that we're not reinventing wheels. That's just not helping anybody move forward. Knowledge sharing, collecting meaningful insights, distilling lessons, and sharing key takeaways widely to produce and promote new research and action wherever possible. It's credited, so seek out sources of insight and partnership, especially collaborators with lived expertise, and highlight their contributions. It is self-defined. We respect how each family defines parenting, caregiving, partnership, and membership for themselves. It's inclusive, explicitly in recognizing intersectional race, ethnic, gender, and class issues that parenting students face and how those issues interact with policies and practices. And finally, most importantly, it's whole family. So student-parent work is 2-generational and it honors the family. So with that, I want to just honor our team here. We call this our working board that champions and keeps Spark running. We have 9 members here: myself, Sarah Gallison, Jessica Lee, Nina Owolabi, Crystal Pale, Renee Reberg, Kimberly Salazar, Kate Westaby, and Lacey Williams. Urban Institute, Child Trends, and the Pregnant Scholar co-steward this work as organizations. But we try really hard not to use words like ownership here. This is a shared space. We are just trying to create a space that Jessica's going to share more about what this all looks like. We also have support from a whole plethora of wonderful funders: Imaginable Futures, ECMC Foundation, Annie Casey, Ascendant, the Aspen Institute's Parent Powered Solutions Fund, the Urban Institute, a Michelson 20MM Pooled Fund, and we don't we don't represent their views or opinions. We have our own, but we are so grateful to them for making this work happen. I also want to acknowledge some folks who are integral to this work, who aren't part of the working board, but Clay Kilby is our developer. Devlin O'Connor is our editor, and Ann Hoffman has been doing great work with our publishing support services that Renee will share more about. But there's lots of folks who have had a hand in this. Also, a huge shout out to the University of Hawaii SPAM, Student Parents at Manoa team led by Teresa Bill, who did so much work on bringing together things for our resource library. So just lots of acknowledgments and appreciation all around. So with that, I'm going to pass to Jessica, who's going to share more about what we have going on with Spark.
Thanks, Teresa. Hi, everybody. I'm Jessica Lee, and it's my pleasure to be here with you today to celebrate Spark's birthday. Building off of Teresa's great overview of who we are and our shared mission, I'm just going to talk for a couple minutes about how we do it. Many of you are probably familiar with Spark's tools. For the last year, we've been thrilled to see so many of you building your impact with our tools. We love filling your toolbox. Next. I have here a few of our key tools. We have our website. That includes our events calendar and member-only resources. We have things like job postings that you can use to get some great help or find your next job in this field that's growing every day. We have our data insights and new research, which we'll be very excited to talk about later today. As Teresa said, it's not a party without data. We've just launched a new blog made by student parents for student parents. And of course, we have social media highlighting key news and insights from the field. And then I know a good chunk of you are probably here today because of our newsletter. I was so thrilled a few days ago to be at the California Alliances Summit, where I heard from a ton of folks who look forward to that newsletter every month and use it as it is a rare, comprehensive source for what's going on in the field. Finally, we have our resource library, which, oh, hey, AJ, shout out to the California Alliance. We also have our resource library, which lives on our website. And I will say I use it all the time in my own writing. So we love bringing you these tools, and we're going to keep building them. But I think the real magic of Spark is that it's not just a toolbox. Next. Instead, we like to think of Spark as a maker space, hopefully a vibrant one where ideas ignite, collaborations grow, and innovative solutions take shape for student parents. Like any great maker space, it's designed to foster creativity, to build connection, and give the space for co-creation, with each member contributing their own unique spark to the collective flame. It's our goal for Spark to be co-created and grow with the movement for student parent success. And one of the ways we co-create this work and stay responsible to the needs of the community is our Spark Fellow program. And I love this photo. This is from the Generation Hope Conference last year, where many of our fellows were able to gather along with the working board to build community and really set the foundation for what's coming next. As you'll see throughout this presentation, our fellows' perspective infuses everything we do, research, publications, to the social media posts that I know I've been loving. Fellows are really at the core. But there are additional ways for you, all of you listening today, to collaborate. And we'll be talking about a lot of that today. I think that's part of the core of what we're doing here. Next. So we are going to be adding to this toolkit a new platform for our constellations, building more robust community collaboration spaces where researchers, service providers, advocates, and student parents can come together to share and build with each other. Next, we're going to add one more part of this, which is our publication support services, which are going to enhance the field's ability to create quality, high impact research to move the needle for student parents. And both of these, I think, are fabulous ways for you to be able to help continue to contribute. Bringing all of this together, next, um, that's going to offer tools, partners, and platforms to aid your work on behalf of parenting students. And so I think this is truly growing out of a toolbox to a maker space with these coming products that are going to give folks a new workspace to keep building. Thank you to all of you who've contributed to this work over the past year. Whether it's submitting newsletter items or partnering on research, you have really helped grow this work. And by doing this together, I think this is exactly what we need, especially in this moment. We can stretch our scant resources, mentor strong leaders, and keep this fight alive in dark times. We hope that you can join in on the makerspace, learn from others, and share your own experiences and research. Share your voice, contribute your own spark, build it up, and pass the flame to a new generation of leaders. So today we're going to talk about some ways for you to tap in, some things that you could use in doing that. But really, I hope you'll join us in this celebration. Thank you for all you're doing and all you're going to do. And now I'll pass it on to my brilliant colleague, Nina, who's going to share our tools for you to incorporate into your practice, starting with our website. Hope you'll check out studentparentaction.org. Nina?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jessica. Hi, everyone. Let's keep those vibes going here. I just want to take out just a couple of moments just to give you all a little bit of the behind the scenes of our website. I know many of you are already very familiar, have already gotten a chance to like dive in, but we just want to also give space for those who are a little newer to the Spark Collaborative community and also kind of point out some cool things that, I think could be really supportive to the work that everyone is doing. Also, let's pay attention because I think I'll be leaving a few clues that'll be supportive for our game that's coming up next. So if you haven't yet, go ahead and head over to studentparentaction.org, or you can take a picture of the QR code that's up here right now. I'm also going to go ahead and share my screen here. All right, good folks. Let's see. Make sure that we get the right screen share going here. There we go. All right. Can you all see my screen? Perfect. So you all see studentparentaction.org? Fantastic. All right. So our beautiful homepage, again, shout out to Clay here for all of his support with getting our website off the ground. A lot of what you all are going to be looking for and needing support with, guess what? You can find it right here on our homepage. If you scroll down even just a bit, you can obviously learn more about what we do, but then also you can check out our blog, our Student Parent Perspectives blog. It's a newer offering, as Jessica mentioned, but this is a space for student parents. Share their hearts, share their wisdom, share their stories. And you can check it out simply by clicking that link. Scroll down a little bit more, and here you are, our data insights. If you click on check it out, you get to go directly to our student parent demographic page with so much information, just truly chock full. Scroll a little bit more, and guess what? More featured news and events. One other thing I wanted to draw you all's attention to, at the very top, if you click on news and events, we'll click on events here from that drop down. We get a beautiful shot of our calendar, which as you can see was chock full of activities for Student Parent Month. A lot of these are representative from your organizations doing this really amazing work. The thing I want to draw your attention to is toward the bottom of the page. submitting an event. We're all about community crowdsourcing, uplifting what's happening in the field. And so thank you to those who've already submitted events. But if you have things that are coming up, don't hesitate. Go ahead, click on that submit button, include some information so that way we can share your event with the broader student parent advocacy community. Next up, resources. As you all can see, we got some heavy hitters here right under the resources tab. You click on that, you get our drop-down menu. I'm going to take you over to that resource library that Jessica was hyping up just a few moments ago. As you can see, we have almost 1,200 different resources from many of your organizations and just many of your powerful work. Again, I want to draw your attention to the filtering that you're able to do here. Did you know that you can actually search for just the blogs or the dissertation chapters? You can do that right here. The type, you can search by location. So if you're interested in a blog post based out of Australia, yes, we have that. You can definitely filter down and click apply there. Scroll just a bit more. And again, we're all about community crowdsourcing. So if you have a resource, go ahead and submit that to us. Next up, under resources, again, data insights, easy to get to. Meeting student parents' basic needs, which we're going to hear more about soon. The publication support services. You want to learn a little bit more, you can go right to our webpage here. Also, I think more will be discussed about it in just a little bit. But also, if you're ready to just dive in, you want to write with Spark, especially if you're a student parent and you want to participate in the blog, please fill out our intake form. It's right here, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible to be able to start that support process. Again, under resources, California AB 2881 webpage database. You can click here and actually be able to not only access the database, but the corresponding blog that was written with it. Really amazing information here. And last but certainly not least, for our student parents, again, another opportunity to be able to check out our blog and keep checking back to this page as we're continuing to grow our offerings. The very last thing I'll mention is our login button here. There's an opportunity for everyone to become a member. And if you become a member, you get an extra menu that pops up here once you actually log in. That includes employment opportunities, that includes a database of funding. And again, we're always looking for that crowdsourcing support. So if there are things happening in your organization, you want to be able to share those grants, those job opportunities, internship opportunities, this is a great place to be able to do it. All right. And I'm going to go ahead and pass the mic over to Lisi.
Hi, thank you so much, Nina. So I've been having a little bit of difficulties. Yes, I was going to ask you, would you be facilitating the slides because I was having a little bit of issues, but I appreciate you going ahead and doing that for me. So we're going to be having a little a scavenger hunt to see how well you guys were paying attention to our lady Nina here a few seconds ago. And the prize is going to be $10 Barnes and Nobles. You can use it towards a book for yourself or take the kiddos and have them hunt for something while you have a cup of Java over there while they're, gathering a book. So there's going to be 3 questions, and after each question, the winner will go ahead, the first person will go ahead and enter into the chat the answer, and the first person who enters into the chat will be the winner. Nina will go ahead and take your information after the event and get you your prizes. So we're going to go ahead with the first clue and a question. So according to Spark's Data Insight, what percentage of undergrad student parents are single mothers? So you guys go ahead and use the QR code and look for that. And if you're having difficulties, there's a little hint. And so the hint is check the infographic titled Undergrad Single Mothers Students on the Data Insight page. Oh, okay. Oh, we're quick, aren't we? And so let's see who was the First person. You guys can help me as well, so that I can make sure I get the first respondent.
Nina's our arbiter of
Nina's on
who
it? Oh, okay.
wins.
'Cause I was gonna say, I mean, I can multitask, but you know, I don't know how quick. So did we get a winner, Nina? Okay,
Yes, congratulations, Sarah Evelyn.
good job.
When you all win, Nina will reach out to you to get your email address so we can send you that gift card. So make sure we get that before you sign off today.
That's all right, Kimberly. Okay, and so we'll go ahead with the second question. Okay, find a downloadable resource that supports student government advocacy. What is its title? And the hint. Search the research source library to op-ed or commentary pieces related to policy and advocacy.
I think we're gonna crash your website. It's like hard to load.
I guess this is a good test, huh? Do we have a winner? That one a little difficult, huh?
I think we got one there. Is that the winner? Did
Did we
Nina?
get one? Congratulations, Alexandra. Okay, good job.
Oh, thank you. I
What else
found
you
it.
put in there? Yes. Okay, number 3. According to one of our student fellows, Denise Mendez, what percentage of California public institutions had a visible student parent webpage at the time of her review? Hint, visit the blog titled Beyond Compliance. Oh, thank you, Kimberly.
Are we seeing that? I'm seeing a lot of 13s come up. Nina, is that the right one, or are we still waiting for the right answer?
Still waiting on the right answer.
They got one of the digits right.
Okay, let's come back on this one because I think maybe we should double check it. We'll come back and confirm the winner on that one. That's wonderful. Thank you all so much. All
Yes,
right.
thank you. Yeah, I'll go back and double check again because maybe something.
We'll make sure we got that one.
mixed
You
up.
all are wonderful. Good job, Lisi. Thank you so much for putting that together. It was so fun. I'm passing it to Sarah Gallison to hear a bit about next steps on our constellations.
Hi everyone, I'm Sarah. I'm a STAR Fellow, and then I also work at MIT, working with graduate students who have children. So I'm going to talk to you about, when it comes up, our constellation. So these are virtual meeting spaces, and some of you might be in our LinkedIn constellation right now. And we tried out LinkedIn. It worked for a little bit, but then we felt like it just didn't have the features that we wanted for our community to facilitate discussion and everything else. So we are moving over. And we're excited to have some new space within Sporg's platform on Circle. So the Sporg space was created by our friends at Education Design Lab, and some of them are on this call, and we're really, really happy to get a little corner of their space there. So you can see in these pictures of the website what we're going to have. So there, or what we've built already. So there's a few spaces already. So you can see on that left-hand side that the Spark space is like its own little menu. And I'll talk to you about how you can join in a minute. But these are some of the spaces that we have started. So there's the big constellation, that's where everybody is, and you can join that. You can introduce yourself, ask questions. Then the California constellation is open to people who live in California, or you're interested in what's going on in California, whether that's like policy wise or with the institutions, just talk to people there. Then we have a live chat set up as well. If you just have a quick question, you can ask it there and somebody can respond to you. That functions like a Slack channel. We have a member directory where you can get people's contact information, and then Spark Images is where you can post photos. I didn't put a screenshot of it, but I posted in there like at MIT, we send out baby boxes to students who have a baby. So I posted a picture of that, or you can post like, events that you did for student parents. And that's just a fun way to stay connected with people. Could you go to the next slide? So this is how you can join us. So if everyone wants to take, 30 seconds now to just scan that QR code, become a Spark member, I promise it's super easy. Even if you were already in the LinkedIn space, you are going to move over super easily to Circle. And they have an app as well, so you can use it on your desktop or on an app. So you can, I imagine that people already got the Spark website to become a Spark member. If you're not a Spark member, you can join and do that. And then make an account on Circle. And then just send me an email real quick, if you don't mind, just so that I know that you're a Spark member, and I can make sure that you can see our Spark content, because right now it's hidden. You have to be a Spark member to see that stuff. And then go ahead and post something. If you don't have an idea of something to post, then just go to the big constellation. You'll see a pinned post that I made where you can introduce yourself and you can meet other people there. And I'm not sure who I'm passing it off to next.
I'm up next. Thank you, Sarah. We're really excited at the potential of connecting with all of you on Circle. So we're about to transition to the end of the birthday party section of the webinar. But before we blow out our metaphorical birthday candles, we wanted to close with the impact that Spark has had on the field over the past year. So we've heard feedback, including that some of our resources have become go-tos for the field, including our newsletter and our timely data pieces. And since we are a research org, I wanted to give some concrete data and examples about our impact around a couple of dimensions. So first up, we are informing the national conversation on student parents through media mentions. We've been quoted and cited in a variety of resources, ranging from local public broadcasting networks to education outlets to Forbes to Scary Mommy, kind of, ranging the gamut there. We've also had our work cited in research publications from New America, from the Richmond Fed, as well as foundations. In terms of presentations, we have been able to get out there in person. We've presented kind of as a larger team at the HOPE conference in National Harbor last year. We were also at APAM, the big public policy conference in late 2024, and presented on what I think is at this point countless virtual webinars. We've been fortunate to support colleges both directly and indirectly, directly through technical assistance and then indirectly as well. Colleges have started putting resources from Spark on their websites where faculty, staff, and students can go learn more about student parents, including in California, Wisconsin, and Washington State. In terms of publication support services, that is our new offering that Jessica mentioned. We are currently supporting 2 student parent scholars through our publication support services that just opened this summer. So this is brand new. And we're helping both of them transform parts of their dissertations into short, really impactful policy pieces with targeted policy-making audiences. So we're really excited to see where that goes and to support more folks through that service. And then finally, we've made a lot of new connections in the field. There are a lot of new names in the chat. It's great to virtually meet all of you. We've also made connections with new colleges, as well as folks in other spaces outside of higher ed, including the child welfare system. So that's what we see as our impact in the field over the past year. I'd like to invite you, if you feel inclined, to share in the chat how Spark has impacted your own work over the past year. So feel free to put that in the chat. But with that, we can kind of metaphorically blow out the candles at this point, and I'm going to turn it over to Teresa to transition to that data portion of our talk.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. It was so fun, and we got a winner for that third scavenger hunt round. Sorry for the confusion, but we're good. We're gonna reach out to Chris Brochard for getting that statistic pulled up real quick. So congratulations, Chris. All right. So with that, not a party without data. So we're really excited. We've just put out this work this morning, supporting parenting students through college basic needs partnerships. This is a collaborative effort between Urban Institute, Child Trends, Amy Ellen Duke Benfield as a consultant, as well as 2 fabulous star fellows, Shaquita Christian and Fatou Sai. So you can find the briefs. There's a series of 3 briefs on the Spark website, and we're going to talk today about a little bit of an integrated conversation among the 3 of them. But supporting parenting students through college basic needs partnerships is like a very short overview case-making brief. We hope you can hand that to someone who's thinking about this to get them to see why this matters. And then there's improving collaboration between colleges and public programs like workforce and human services programs, which is real practical. And then student parents combine studying, working on public programs to support their families while in school. And that is a real awesome data insight deep dive. So with that, we want to first express deep gratitude to our policy council, several of which are on this call today. We're so happy for your input. I am not going to read every name but I'm going to put them here long enough that you can read every name because they're wonderful. And we also want to give a shout out to the Annie E. Casey Foundation for funding this research. But all findings and conclusions are ours alone and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Casey Foundation. But thank you all so much for being part of the brain trust that developed this work. So why support parents in college? There's a lot more case making in our basic case making brief, but I think we don't have to make our case too strongly to this group because you all are the people who know this. But I do want to share a few key things. So first of all, we know that parenting students earn similar or better grades than non-parenting students, but are much less likely to complete college. Only 17% earn a degree or a credential within 6 years compared to 50% of non-parents. And even after accounting for demographics, student parents are 55% less likely to complete. And part of this is the overlapping challenges that are faced. So there's time constraints, limited childcare, lack of family-friendly college supports. But most critically, they face intense short-term financial pressure to meet families' basic needs. Solving these issues would allow student parents to complete college degrees, which leads to large payoffs for parents, for children, for colleges, and the economy. And we have research to back up all 4 of those statements. So has this become more of a problem? Yes. So food insecurity has climbed in recent years. So looking from 2005 to 2023, we're going to show you a graph, but I'm going to bring it up piece by piece because it's a lot to show all at once. You'll see here along the bottom, we have our years from 2005 to 2023. We'll see we have some yellow sections. Those are economic recessions. Sometimes those are helpful to contextualize the time period. You see the Great Recession on the far left, and you'll see the COVID recession here on the right. And what we can do is we can look over time, first of all, at all the total population of the US that are not parents. And food insecurity has stayed fairly stable at about 10% for a long time. It rose a bit after 2021 to 13%. And we look at all of the entire population that are parents, it follows a somewhat similar trajectory and in fact very similar numbers. So there isn't a huge difference here in the whole population between parents and non-parents. When we look at those who are enrolled in college, students who are not parents, we see that overall their rates have been lower than the general population, but it's been going up since about 2019. It hit low at 8%, now it's up to 11%. There's been a lot of discussion about growth in food insecurity, and this is just based on the current population survey, food security supplement. Some other data sources will give different numbers, but one thing that we want to emphasize is when we look at student parents over time, food insecurity, first of all, let's just tell you, after the Great Recession, it got really high. Like even by this fairly conservative survey, it was 28%. It went down quite a bit for quite a while, but has jumped up again since 2021. So we're seeing this pattern where not only do student parents have higher rates of food insecurity than other groups, but also it's been going up in recent years. And in fact, other surveys from Trellis Strategies and the Hope Center for Student Basic Needs show even more need. So over half of student parents were food insecure, according to these large surveys. And in fact, they agree with each other. These are different surveys, but the rates are very consistent. Nearly 2/3 were housing insecure. Over 10% were homeless, and nearly 1 in 5 missed 3 or more days of class due to childcare gaps. So it's important to recognize kind of what the needs are because we don't want to be deficit framed. That's not our goal. Our goal is to find problems and then find solutions. So that's what we're trying to do here is to raise this issue so that we can be solution oriented. So with that, we've dug in a bit more to do analysis of student parents' households, what their needs look like, and what public programs and supports they're currently accessing. So with that, I'm going to pass it back to Renee to share a bit about that.
Thanks, Teresa. So knowing what Teresa just presented about the levels of basic needs and security faced by student parents and how detrimental facing these insecurities can be to making it to graduation, we wanted to take a deeper dive into the resources that are available to students. We looked at resources from work, from partners, and from public programs. We did so with some original analyses that I'll present in the next couple of slides. These analyses are also all available at the state level. So if you want to know what this story looks like in your state, check out the brief. But okay, so the national picture. We started with work. Existing research shows, as most of us probably know, that the majority of student parents work while they're in school. We took this a step further to look at student parents' spouses as well, to have this broader picture of the resources available to a student. And what we found is that the vast majority of student parents are working or have a spouse that works. And that's 88%. 88% of student parents are working or have a spouse that works while they're in school. This includes, in light blue here, 30% of all student parents who are single and working while in school. This includes, in the light yellow, 38% of student parents who are married with both spouses working, as well as 21% of student parents, this is the middle yellow bars, where one spouse was working and the other did not. For those that are not working, that 12% in the darkest shaded region, there tends to be a reason outside of the student's control why they're not working. This could be a health challenge, either their own or their child's. They could be caring for young children, or basic needs insecurity could be the reason that they're not working. Without stable housing and reliable transportation, it can be really hard to hold down a job. But that said, the vast majority, 88%, are working. So if we go to the next slide, we see that despite this high level engagement of work, half of all student parents live in households with low incomes or in poverty and have insufficient incomes to make ends meet. So 14% of student parents live in poverty. To make that concrete, for a family of 4 with 2 adults and 2 children, that's less than $31,000 a year to support 4 people. 36% of student parents live in low-income households with less than 200% of the poverty line. For that same family, that's less than about $62,000 a year. And then half are not low income, they're above that threshold. So while student parents are in school, many do not have sufficient incomes to make ends meet, despite the vast majority of them working. For them to meet their potential and make it to graduation and ultimately better paying jobs, there are additional options for support, which we show in the next slide. What we found is that many student parents use public human service and workforce programs, which we call public programs throughout our work. So this graph shows the percent of student parents that are estimated to live in households where someone uses this program. We looked at school lunch, Medicaid for healthcare, the Earned Income Tax Credit, SNAP or food stamps, WIC, housing subsidies, energy subsidies, and welfare. We used a unique data source to be able to look at this pretty wide range of programs. So here we see the most commonly utilized supports include free or reduced price school lunch for parents' children, Medicaid for healthcare needs, which could be the student's own healthcare needs or could be their children's, the EITC, which is specifically for working parents, and then SNAP. So you can see here that student parents are far more likely to use some program than others, and this may be partially due to how easy these programs are to access. So for example, let's start with school lunch, which is the most widely accessed program. Your eligibility for school lunch can be based on your own income, or it may be based on your community's income, where an entire school gets school lunch. That's through a provision called the community eligibility provision, or it may even be universal in your state. There's some states where every K-12 student gets school lunch. And we show these state level differences in the full report. So that's school lunch, which has a lower bar to entry. Another easier program to access is the EITC, the Earned Income Tax Credit. And that's because it operates through the tax system. It doesn't require a separate application process in the way that SNAP or WIC or housing subsidies do. And we know that other programs are more difficult to access, even for those who are eligible. For example, we know that many students who are eligible for SNAP do not access it. So if we take those 3 slides, put them together, what we find is that 1, the vast majority of student parents are working or have a spouse that works. Despite this high level of work, many student parents struggle to make ends meet. And 3, many student parents use public programs, but their uptake rates vary highly by program. So if we go to the next slide, this brings us to our next major point. It's become clear that colleges could be more economically sustainable for student parents. An obvious way to fill this gap is better collaboration between higher education and public agencies. Responsible data sharing, emphasis on responsible, is an efficient way to make those connections between higher education and public agencies. So now I'm going to turn over to Kimberly, who's going to talk about how colleges and public agencies can do this.
Thanks so much, Renee. Apologies for being off camera. All the excitement on the chat and the Zoom is slowing my computer down. So I gotta have some bandwidth to be able to present. So again, what does a responsible data sharing and collaboration actually look like on the ground? So at the college level, there are some very practical steps institutions can take to connect student parents to supports they need. They can identify students with the existing data. So colleges already, some colleges already collect information that can help flag student parents or those likely eligible for support. The key is using the data thoughtfully while also protecting privacy. They can integrate outreach into already existing services. So rather than adding, let's say, another like a hurdle, outreach should be embedded into spaces that student parents already access, like advising, financial aid, or orientation. Simplify consent and build trust. So consent processes can be sometimes intimidating and dense. So making them clear and straightforward builds trust with the student parent and ensures student parents feel safe in sharing that information. We can hone communication. So language matters, framing resources as opportunities and keeping messages clear and concise and pithy and student-centered helps programs resonate. And dedicate staff capacity. So these efforts work if someone is responsible for them. So dedicated staff are critical to making sure student parents don't fall through the cracks. Understanding the administrative landscape, students the burden and the onus shouldn't necessarily be on time-impoverished students to have to navigate red tape alone. Colleges can help students understand the policy and program landscapes to guide them correctly and effectively. And partner with public agencies. And finally, again, partnering directly with public agencies connects the dots so that colleges aren't just identifying needs, but actually helping students access real support. So together, these strategies show how colleges can move from identifying challenges to building systems of support. And that's where I'm going to take us next. Next slide, please. So while colleges are doing important work on the ground, state systems and higher education offices also play a key role in setting the stage for success. These opportunities to align, there are opportunities to align efforts and create efficiency. So state higher education office and systems level support can understand the landscape. At the system level, the first step can be to simply map the landscape, knowing where student parents are enrolled, what supports already exist, and where the gaps might be. That clarity helps everyone work smarter, not harder. And so building relationships with human services and workforce leaders. States can encourage partnerships across agencies, higher education, workforce, and human services so that leaders are working in sync instead of silos. And that collaboration makes government programs run more effective and be responsive to families that are navigating higher education. Provide tools and templates. So rather than each college is starting from scratch, systems can provide common tools and templates. It's a simple way to promote consistency, reduce duplication, and save time and resources, and resource and scale the work. And so when something works, states are well positioned to help scale it. Even modest resourcing at the system level can help stretch dollars further and make sure good ideas spread across campuses. So at both the college and state level, there are practical steps that strengthen efficiency, build trust, and ultimately make it easier for student parents to succeed. And so then the real question is, how do we move from ideas to implementation? So next slide, please. So strategies to connect student parents to programs. Outside organizations and experts can, so beyond campuses and states, outside organization and experts also have a role to play. This isn't just about, creating extra bureaucracy. It's about offering practical supports that make the work easier and more consistent for everyone involved. That might mean a readiness checklist that helps colleges assess where they stand, or model state sharing agreements that make collaboration smoother while protecting privacy. It can include training that equips staff with confidence and resources that reflect real challenges students and institutions face, not just theory. And finally, a central repository allows everyone to learn from each other's successes, cutting down on duplication and saving, again, valuable time and resources. So when campuses, states, and system and outside partners are aligned, the work becomes lighter and more effective. That alignment not only breaks down siloed efforts, but also helps address the administrative burden and time poverty that student parents face daily. So while we've talked about why data sharing matters, the next big question is how to do it responsibly. FERPA is central here, and there's more flexibility in it than many people realize. So I'll now hand it over to my colleague, Amy Ellen, to walk us through it.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Kimberly. Next slide, please. Now on to the more complicated issue in regards to whether or not colleges share data. I was lucky enough to work with NASFA a few years ago, the National Student Financial Aid Administrators, when I was at Higher Learning Advocates, and we ran a poll or fielded a survey, is a better way to put it, of financial aid officers and asked them how they were sharing data, and found that, one, there's a lot of reticence about sharing data to connect students to public benefits because of some of the federal limitations and some confusion around that. And the other is around feeling like they don't have enough time to do so. And that kind of gets back to what Kimberly was talking about in terms of how do we make these processes easier. So the fact is, many colleges and states treat FERPA as a prohibition rather than a framework, and with potential pathways for secure data sharing. And this is discussed in the third paper that we're releasing today. Under FERPA, data can be shared with government agencies to support program access, and that's with written student consent. This is actually the easiest pathway to go. No one's really nervous around that. Some schools like Compton College, which you mentioned in the brief, are already doing this, have QR codes up all over campus where you can give your permission. Without consent to other employees or contractors within the college who serve as school officials and with legitimate educational interests. Okay, that's a little fuzzier, but there are good ways to unpack that. And there have been, to remind everyone, some of you already know and probably read these to put yourself to bed at night, but the Biden administration put out a few pieces of guidance at the end of the administration around data sharing that can provide a little bit more clarity around some of what we're talking about here. Without consent to other institutions, the state or organizations administering student financial aid program, if the disclosure is in connection with financial aid the student has already applied for or previously received, and it is necessary to determine eligibility for amount of or conditions of the aid or to enforce terms of conditions. And then without consent to any individual organization, if it is directory information, which is a little bit more complex, and I'd lean on the earlier bullets than on the latter. Next slide, please. The easiest way to assuage concerns is for colleges to ask students for consent through routine forms and processes. So like I said, the best way to do this is to ask for permission either in the financial aid process. Student loan counseling is another way that folks have talked about. Kimberly mentioned orientation and some of the other areas to build that process in where you have a student authorizing the use of their data. Or as I mentioned, Compton's kind of creative and the QR code spread around campus. Are you interested in benefits? Scan this QR code. There's also an incredibly helpful center at the U.S. Department of Education, the Privacy Technical Assistance Center. I'll be candid, this is something that I hope will keep going and has staffing to do so, and am, but somewhat unsure that it will always be able to provide the reassurance that we want given status of employment and staffing. The other big topic that has come up in terms of sharing data were the changes that took place a couple years ago under legislation that kind of clarified that federal tax information is a more complicated factor in terms of how you can use that data to connect students. And for those of you who are up on the larger ecosystem of higher ed, NCAN put up a big fight about that because some of that information dictates how college access organizations work and outreach and that kind of thing. But it's very similar in the benefits access spheres too. But NASFA maintains a decision tree for FAFSA and federal tax information data sharing. Although FTI falls under different and sometimes more stringent rules, as I mentioned, it can also be shared for the application, award, or administration of financial aid. And I think it's important to lean on some of those documents. Here's a copy of the decision tree for those of you who are interested. It looks very complicated. My camera can't even handle it. But it's like playing the game of life, and the yes and no's, and can be very helpful. But it is important to note that as with FAFSA data, FTI can also be shared with other school officials determined to have a legitimate education interest. But always, it can be easier for those of you who know this and are working on outreach. It can be easier for the financial aid office to just sort of issue communications to students directly. So that gives you a taste of the fact that if you have someone in your school who's saying data can't be shared, that you can share data, but there are some parameters around that. And we're happy to answer any questions in the future when you all are thinking about this.
We most definitely are. And thank you so much, Amy Ellen. Thank you all so much for joining us. We had some great questions in the chat. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us with additional questions, spark@studentparentaction.org, or reach out directly. We know you all have places to be, very important people, but if you want to stay and just keep the party going a bit, we do have time for some informal networking. We're also excited about next steps with Spark. So we'll be sharing out more information about the circle-based constellation. There's going to be new research and insights, and we have a lot more coming out, as Nina previewed, on our resources for student parents. Lisi, who you all heard from, Kimberly and Kate have been working on some really exciting resources that are student parent facing, and we're excited to be able to just continue to build out our maker space. If you have suggestions or feedback, we are always available and always interested in hearing it.